Welcome to Sex on the Floor podcast. This podcast was created to help educate the public about problems with sex and intimacy and how this is tied to both physical and mental aspects. Hosted by myself, Dr. Molly Hart, a passionate pelvic floor physical therapist and owner of Pelvic Balance Physical Therapy, and by Dr. Katie Schubert, a phenomenal sex therapist and owner of Cypress Wellness Center. We are here to have a good time. We're here to keep it real with you all and to educate along the way. I'm so excited for you to join us. We strive to help many relationships prosper in fun, safe, and healthy intimacy. While listening to the show, please remember that this information is not meant to diagnose or treat any medical conditions. Please speak with your medical provider for all things related to your healthcare. Hello all, welcome back to Sex on the Floor podcast with Dr. Molly Hart and Dr. Katie Schubert. Today we are going to be talking about responsibilities at home when it comes to couples and finances and mixing that into with home responsibilities because it's kind of all tied together. And then relating that back into like how that affects our intimate life as a couple.
Yes, so before we started recording this, we were talking about the common things that couples fight about. And finances and financial planning are one of the biggest things that I see in my office that couples bring in. And they're like, we don't know how to get through this. We don't know how to agree on it. We don't know what we're doing. We have completely different financial perspectives. We are brought up completely differently. And this is causing a lot of tension in our relationship.
Yeah. So why I wanted to talk about this, why this kind of came about is my husband and I personally, like we're at a spot and it's taken us years to get here where we are very much so on the same page about our financial goals. And we are working incredibly well as a team to continue to get there. But we weren't always like this. And it was a lot of discussions back and forth, a lot of what I would call like betrayal with finances and how that does affect our intimate life. And so just kind of talking about, Katie, do you want to kind of break it up into different areas of how it affects a couple, or what are you thinking?
Well, I can talk about what I see in my office. So when couples bring this up in session and they want to discuss it, they want to spend their time in therapy discussing it. Usually it's because one person's a spender and one person's a saver, and then there's that tension. One person isn't contributing as much financially to the family. They have different financial goals, I'd say. So like where and what do we spend our money on right now? How much money should we be saving to be comfortable later on? How much money should we be spending on the kids? Should the kids go to private school? Should the kids go to public school? Should we be saving money for our kids' college, right? So like there are all of these things that play into our finances as a family that can cause tension. And what I've noticed is that we pick up a lot of that from our like families of origin. So like what our families did growing up is the thing that we're used to, and we tend to replicate that in our own relationships. So with like premarital counseling, if you're smart enough, I did not do premarital counseling, but if you're smart enough to do premarital counseling, this is one of the things that is often brought up. Like, what are your what are your feelings about finances? What do you want? What's important to you? And all of that is kind of teased out before you get married, because it's unfortunately one of those things that sometimes you don't know what you're getting into until you're already too deep in it.
Yeah, which that would be hard to navigate through.
It would be.
When couples come in and they're not on the same page in that area, what would therapy look like to try to help them? Is there any tools that you use specifically?
Well, there's two things that I tell my couples, and this is fairly generalizable. The first thing is that the person who has the louder feelings in the relationship typically gets what they want, mostly.
Yeah.
Second thing is that couples should find compromises on anything that they feel differently about. So, and those things might sound like they're different, or they would lead to different outcomes, but it's really not. Usually, you can tease apart in a relationship who cares most about an issue. Um, I'm just trying to think of silly examples. Um, well, okay, as you know, we just bought another commercial property.
Yeah.
I feel very strongly that it's a like a solid investment. Like real estate in St. Pete, we're good, I think, for a while. Um, my husband is like, oh, do we really want another mortgage? But I have my foot down, right? Like we're doing it. And he's like, okay, if it's important to you, we'll do it. So he has his own feelings, but mine are louder, and it's either we do or we don't. So we do because I'm demanding it, right?
Yeah.
But there are other things like how much should we save for retirement?
Mm.
If I have a figure in mind and he has a figure in mind, then it's good to find like a compromise in that. So find compromises where you can, and then with like binary decisions, figure out which person in the relationship feels the most strongly about it.
I love that you said that. I've never heard you say that about the who has the stronger feelings. And I find it so comical because I have strong opinions and feelings, and my husband is just the most chill person ever. And I get frustrated by that though, because of course I'm always going to be louder, but I'm like, I want to know what you want though. I'm always like, well, what do you want? Do you want to do this? Do you want to do that? Because I'm so
Yeah.
decisive and opinionated and loud. And he's like, I just don't care. Like, I don't, he's like, you can do this, that. Like, he just doesn't care. And it's, my brain can't understand it. I'm like, what do you mean? So then it ends up typically going the way I want it to go. Not even because I want that to happen, but because there's no other like idea thrown out there per se. So finances, I am incredibly passionate about finances. I am a saver. He's a spender. Not anymore because I'm loud and we've curbed those habits. But it is funny because I'm like, if he was the louder one, how would things be different? How would the decisions get made? So I like that you said you try to find compromises
Yeah.
where you can with
Yeah.
finances. Uh,
Yeah.
but what
Yeah.
if the loud one is the spender? Then you're like, man, that would be very dangerous for our relationship.
Yeah, it would. But not all relationships live. They don't all survive. And that might be a relationship that does not survive.
Yeah, like, or it would survive maybe, but the finances, they just, yeah, would be a little bit of a hot mess.
Yeah,
Oh,
exactly.
okay. So whoever's the louder, so you do you find them with finances when you're working with couples, whoever is the one who cares more about financial planning ends up kind of being the leader in that role, or do you see couples work more like a team?
It really just depends, right? Like, um, my husband, for example, he has a lot of the household tasks, but finances are not one of them. He never learned necessarily or was interested in, I guess, to the same things, right? He never learned because he was never interested in it. And so he just kind of defaults to my planning of it, which is fine because I'm a control freak and I must control
Yeah.
it.
Yeah.
So, and you know what? When he has strong opinions, he voices them, and I usually am like, whoa, okay, that's fine. Like, thank you for voicing your opinion. Um, but it really just depends on what the agreements are. I see all the money coming in, I see all the money going out, and I have it all organized. He doesn't because it's not his business.
Yeah, that's how we are. And I actually have tried in the past to offload that responsibility to my husband because I was just so overwhelmed with how much I was managing at home because he was gone with the military. But it just never happened because it wasn't something he cared about. And I care too much. So I again I like that description of like the louder one. in certain areas. Because I think all couples are a little bit louder in certain areas of how the um, dynamics of the relationship play out. So, okay. What are some other, so you said one's a saver, one's a spender. What are some other areas in finance that you see are really affecting couples? And then of course, if it's affecting a couple, it's affecting emotional intimacy.
So I still don't know how I feel about this. So I'm saying that before I begin explaining. Couples come in and they have everybody has very different ways of managing finances in their houses. But what I've noticed is that I see the most amount of financial conflict with couples who have separate accounts,
I
right? So
find that too. Oh my gosh, I was waiting to see what you were going to say. I was like, is she going to say separate or together? Oh my God, I can't wait. Let's go. Let's talk about this.
I don't know what it is about that. I think maybe it's like the mentality that this is mine and that's yours. Um, and when you're married, it's all yours. Like it's both of yours. It's not, there's no such thing as each person's individual stuff anymore. But I do see a lot of people arguing about spending and about like contributing to whatever needs to be spent with the house when there are two separate bank accounts. I
Yeah,
don't.
that's so interesting. So it's so funny you say that. So I just want to say this. Um, when my husband and I first got married, we had everything was separate. And I remember going to the beach with one of my really good friends, and she was telling me how everything they had, they're married, was together. And I was shocked by it. And she was just describing their goals and like how this, that. Anyways, she's the louder one, of course. So she was the one who was doing most of the planning. And I remember being shocked by it. I was like, wow, that seems kind of controlling. Like that seems like I don't want to control Corey's money. That's how I felt. I was like, I'll probably never do that. We'll always keep things separate. Well, then I got pregnant. And now I'm pregnant and now I'm having to plan for my maternity leave. And I own my own business. I'm not going to get paid for maternity leave. So now I, the woman, am tired. It's harder for me to work. I'm about to take off for 3 months, which is going to massively, I have no income coming in and it's going to affect my business. Whereas him, nothing changed. Like he got paid paternity leave, which was a small amount, and then he was just going to go back to work, like nothing had occurred. And at that moment, so I was about in the beginning of my third trimester, I was like, whoa, this is so unfair to me as a woman. Um, we have to put things together. Like now we have a child coming. Now things are going to be shared. Once you have kids involved, I don't know how you keep things separate because now you really need to work as a team or you don't have to, but I personally don't know how a relationship would thrive if you're not working as a team. And so we sat down and we went over our finances, and that is when I realized how much my husband was spending. I was like, holy moly, I had no idea how much money he was spending. Where I was like, I'm the saver. And so that took us putting things together, and it took years and years and years of getting on the same page. Because I was controlling with the money, and he didn't like that, and so it was figuring out how to navigate that in a way that because he was very focused on himself and his goals and his wants, and I was focused on what was best for the family. And so I'm sure all couples have to go through that. So I have found personally, my friends that I know of and my patients who have separate bank accounts, I see this very strong mentality of not a team and not what's best for the family, but more of like an individualistic approach. And it's there's too much like tit for tat. Um, and I think it's harmful to the relationship as a whole because
Yeah.
how do you make things fair? They're not ever going to be fair.
Yeah, it breeds resentment. And
Yeah.
that's the big thing that I've seen with it. And resentment is one of those things in relationship that it slowly molds the relationship. It's never a good thing. So whenever we see something in the relationship that is contributing to resentment, we want to nip it right away so that it doesn't become a larger issue. And I don't see a lot of couples with joint finances that are building that kind of financial resentments.
Yeah, I don't either. I know one couple I can think of right now. Another thing too is society. This is really important to understand. The person who is not working outside of the house and is doing the work inside the house and doing majority of the childcare, doing majority of the household management, maybe food prep. I mean, there's so many things that are required for managing a family. Like who's making the appointments for all the household stuff? Who's making the appointments for healthcare for everybody and managing that? Who's checking the insurance bills that get like there's so many things that are happening with just managing a family. And somebody is managing that. And oftentimes the one who is has a less demanding job outside of the house is the one who is managing that. But society does not reward that. Like society doesn't say that's worth anything. But it's actually worth an insane amount of money because to delegate all of those things is incredibly expensive. Like I remember I put together something years ago and I priced out in St. Pete how much it costs to have somebody mow your lawn, to clean your house, not just every other week, but to clean your house constantly, right? Because the person who's home is doing cleaning constantly on a day-to-day basis to make all of your, to get your groceries for you, to plan the meals, to cook the food, who's doing all the scheduling, who's staying home. So the AC person, repair person can come and the bug guy can come and spray, like all these things. And I put it all together and who's doing the laundry and the dishes. And it was like if you hired all of that out, I think it was like over 150, maybe $180,000 to pay people to do that. But society doesn't reward those tasks. So when the person outside of the home who's making all the money, if that account is separate from the person over here doing all of this, and they have no access to the money and they have to like ask permission for the money, I can't fathom how much resentment would be breeded from that. You would
Yes.
feel extremely undervalued because society's already undervaluing you. Now my partner is undervaluing me.
Yeah. Yeah, it's not great. I do see a lot of tension and resentments built up around that specifically. You were talking about hiring people to help. That's something else I see a lot of disagreements about. Especially if like one person is more of the like the homemaker and the other person works outside the home. But what I tell couples is like if you can afford it, by all means, like hire people to help you if it helps with your mental health, it helps with getting some time away or to yourself or being able to focus on your kids a little bit more. Um, but some people don't want to. So, like for instance, I see a lot of disagreements about with heterosexual couples, with him working outside their home, with her staying at home, and he's just like, no, this is your job. This is what you need to do. You're staying at home. You need to be responsible for these things. We're not hiring a housekeeper. We're not hiring people to deliver groceries. Like you need to be doing this. So there's just a lot of tension built up around that as well. But when it comes down to it, if you have the money, it's just money.
I
People
agree. Yeah.
really talk about it, especially if they feel like their partner needs to be doing more.
That is too, you know what I've learned with that, and I'm really happy you brought that up. That is something I see there's a lot of disagreement on is like, is it okay for them to hire somebody? Yes, because if everything is struggling to get done, then yeah, you need to hire people. Like if there's no struggle to get stuff done, everything's getting done, okay, we don't need to delegate. Delegating and hiring people is delegation. If we need more help, like the house continually isn't getting cleaned or we're continually struggling to get healthy food put on the table, something needs to be delegated. Like there's a problem going on. But what I found with delegation though, Katie, because you're an entrepreneur and so am I, and in the entrepreneurial world, delegation is you get like a gold star if you're good at delegating. It's actually like a very high praise if you're a good delegator. And those in the entrepreneurial world who are not good at delegating, first off, they're drowning and they're dying. And they are, it's true. And then other entrepreneurs are like, they're like, oh yeah, like no, you need to hire out. What are you doing? Like we don't reward that behavior. I'm just gonna be honest. But in the regular world, I have found delegating is not praised by society, and delegating is looked upon like it's almost a negative connotation. I don't know how to describe it. So in my mom and my family's household, she would never delegate. She would never hire someone to clean the house or to mow the lawn or like, no, you had to do it yourself. And so I had to break free of that mentality when I became an entrepreneur. And then once you realize the leveraging ability of delegating, oh my gosh, it's amazing. So I can see how that could become a really big problem, but a lot of it is from how they were raised and how they view delegating, because some people view it in a very negative light.
Yeah, I think it also has to do with gender roles in the United
Yeah.
States.
Yeah.
I think women are expected to do all the things household wise, which is why I gave the example of the heterosexual couple, right? Like, I think that men specifically don't recognize this, but women do because they live it. And a lot of times, if a woman is staying at home, she's expected to be like just, perfect at it. Perfect at the laundry, perfect at the kids, perfect at the cooking. It's what the shoulds, right? The should episode that we did. And it just so not only are we combating our shoulds, but now we're combating the fact that we're spending money on this that might not be agreed upon with our partner.
Yeah. And so the gender roles, so if you're listening to this, male or female, is like whatever gender roles society has put upon you, which we can say them right now. So for men, what are the gender roles? You should be able to fix anything in the house, all mechanical things that fail. Right now, as we're doing this, by the way, my husband is outside installing two fans because that is his role. I'm not kidding that he is doing that, but I'm kidding. It's not his role. He is just good at doing that. So, but there are certain, what?
My husband's picking up the kids.
Love it. I'm like, it was just so funny. I'm like, the ironicness of what is happening right now outside there. Um, but anyways, for men, there are certain gender roles that are placed upon men, and for women, of course, like being primary caregiver of the kids, cooking and cleaning, I think are the main ones. Is there any other big ones for women?
Oh, we have so many, so many. Um, but I think
Yeah.
the predominant issues come because our society is moving faster than we can keep up with it inside of our head. So there's gender roles, and then there's the speed at which society is moving, and people are doing all sorts of things right now. Like my husband's the homemaker, and I'm the breadwinner. We're swapping shit, and it's causing a lot of confusion because we were raised a certain way.
Yeah.
No, every once in a while, tension will arise, and we'll be like, okay, well, do we really feel this way, or are we just taught to feel this way? And we'll have to like weed apart what's actually going on because it makes no sense in the situation. So, gender roles are an issue, period. But they're an even bigger issue now because of how rapidly our society is shifting. And now we have like, a huge amount of women in the workforce making all the money, doing all the things, and we have more dads who are staying home with the kids, and just everything is shifting, but we haven't caught up in the way that we think about things.
Yeah, and we've talked about this in past episodes, and the biggest thing that I can say to anybody is, and I've done this personally in my own life, and so has my husband, is what are you good at? Like, what is your skill and your strength in the relationship? Because we all have different strengths and we all have weaknesses. And I have learned very much so in marriage. And I was not like this before, but I'm there now, and I'm so thankful for that. I used to look at my husband's weaknesses and I'd want to correct them and make them, I'm like, God, he stinks at this. Like, I want him to be better at it like I am. I do not do that anymore. I am now, I really do view a marriage almost like I'm running a business. That sounds so bad, but like with a business, you look at the strengths of you and your employees, and you task that out. And everybody has very specific roles. And so my husband has incredible strengths that I am horrible at, and I have incredible strengths that he's horrible at. So for instance, finances, since we're talking about, like, I'm really, really good at managing the finances. I'm great at saving. I'm great at having like long-term goals with that. And so I'm the one who manages that, with his input as much as I can get. I'm always like dragging it out of him, I feel like, because he doesn't really care. But um, learning your strengths in a relationship and then using that to delegate is by far the most important thing you can ever do. And that is never going to look like the gender roles. I don't love I hate cleaning my house. I hate it with a passion. I do it, but then I have a cleaning lady who comes once a month and does like an insane deep clean. Like, I can do the little stuff, but him and I share that. I like cooking sometimes, and so does he. But like if I had to do all the cooking, I would lose my mind. I love putting my kids to bed and getting them ready for the morning sometimes, but I have to do it every day. When I've had to do it every single day when he's gone, I hate it. I resent it like no other. So I've like learned certain things that I love doing. I hate mowing the lawn, and so does he. So you know what? That's somebody else mows our lawn. Like there's certain things that we're good at and there's certain things we're not good at. And so the things that neither of us want to do, that's what we delegate out. And the things that one of us is really good at, one of us takes those over. So
Yeah.
that's where I found success, at least in the relationship. More couples have to have these conversations. I find with my clients, and I'm not doing the work you're doing, I find with the women I work with, they're not having these conversations at all. And when they try to, they tell me, the conversations get shut down. There's a lot of defensiveness that comes up. Like your handout, by the way, that you mailed me and I love, of fighting fair. These topics sometimes I think are sensitive for people to talk about, I've noticed in couples, and so they don't get anywhere productive. And so it's just not talked about. And then the underlying resentment builds and builds and builds. The emotional intimacy gets destroyed. And
Mhm.
now we're not having sex.
Right.
But it didn't start there.
Never starts there. Yeah, it's always something else.
Yeah.
Um, so just some like concrete things that you can do with your partner to help. I tell my couples who are struggling with this to have like a budget check-in on a weekly basis. Like sit down, get on the same page, figure out what your money's doing, and ask each other questions that you need clarification on. It's really important. So it's that combined with like, how have you been this week? Like, is there anything I can work on? Having just general check-ins with the budget included in that on a weekly basis. Um, Something else I tell my couples is like find a financial advisor that you like and go and talk to them. And that way, they can ask both of you questions that will elicit responses. So, like for instance, Corey doesn't care about a lot of the things about your financial planning. Sometimes a financial planner will be able to ask questions that will elicit responses from him that are meaningful. They that's what they're trained in, right? They're
Yeah.
trained to ask the questions that people care about. So find a good financial planner, talk to them, get on the same page about budgeting, how much you're gonna be putting away, what you're spending your money on, all those things. Because if you can have that solid foundation with your partner about your feelings about finances, it's so much easier to resolve any conflict that might come up.
Yeah, I agree. And I am big on having a budget. That doesn't, no, budget doesn't mean even that you're living so strict that it's not freeing. That's not what it is. It's just knowing, where is my money going? That's it. And are we agreeing on where our money is going? That's really what it comes down to. Because if you're not, there's going to be problems. There's incredible apps out there now, guys, just so you know, like so incredible. I use Copilot, but there's a ton out there. Some are free, some cost money. What's the one that just got shut down? Intuit shut one down. Mint. I think it was called
Oh,
Mint.
I
Mint
don't
just
know.
got shut down. I was using that one for a while. But the one I have now, Copilot, these apps are so incredible. It connects everything together if you want that, and it auto categorizes it. Think about like QuickBooks for a business, and it categorizes it all for you. And you can go on. My husband and I do this. This is why I'm saying this. Every Sunday we get together and we look, okay, where are we at with the budget? Like, what do we need to be mindful of going into this next week? And then we're constantly, probably every quarter, rechecking in where our goals are, what we're trying to hit. And that's more me. I'm the one facilitating that. And that just happens to be our relationship as far as that goes. But getting on the same page, but you have to have conversations about it. This is something I think in a couple that's thriving and doing well, is the responsibilities of the household and then where the money is going. Because everything you're doing at home, anybody who's staying home and doing more, you're saving your family money. So everything you've decided you're going to do, even if you're not at home, like my husband works, but he's right now installing the fans. Now, if he wasn't good at that, well, I'm not going to do it. We would have a handyman come over and do that. We would pay for it. So just figuring out what things are we good at and what are we going to hire out for, and just being on the same page. But that prevents that resentment from building up. And
that allows both of you to feel seen. If it allows both people to feel, um, it's so fun building something with another person. I just have to say that, like when you're building something by yourself, it goes this fast. When you are working as a team together with somebody and doing it well, it goes like this fast. Like it's like it just quadruples in the quickness of how you can get there. Sorry, I just had to say that. I feel like I went on a tangent to say that, but it's just beautiful. The resentment doesn't build up, and the emotional intimacy part thrives. Like when you're thriving as a couple together, your emotional intimacy thrives, and therefore the physical intimacy is so much better because I want to be with my partner. I want to be close to them. I want to please them because we're helping each other out. Like I'm making you better and you're making me better. Let's go.
Yeah. Yeah,
So,
any category where you can feel like a teammate to your partner, right,
yeah.
will improve all forms of intimacy in a relationship. And finances is a really great way to work on that teamwork feeling.
Yeah, I think it is. Especially if you don't have kids. I feel like it's probably one of the number one ways, right?
Well, intimacy is improved with no children, period.
I'm shocked. I wonder why. No, I'm just kidding. But I
Yeah.
like for real though, like couples who don't have kids, I would say working together as a team on finances and your financial planning, I can't see something being more.
Yeah.
And then when you have kids, of course, working together with your kids is like for me, I don't know everyone's like this. For me, it's such a turn on. Like every time I see my husband do anything wonderful as a parent with my kids, I'm like, just yesterday we were sitting on the couch. We have two couches. They have their couch and their TV, and we have ours. And I need the two separate spaces because I need time away from my children. But we were sitting on the couch, we were watching like HGTV, and he goes, I love cuddling with you right now. He goes, but the kids are over there and they're so cute. And they were watching, one of their like Octonaut shows. He's like, I'm just gonna go sit with them just because like I feel like they just need to have a parent next to them. And I was just like, it was just so cute because he's so selfless with his time. And I'm selfish. And I'm like, no, I really want to sit here by myself and watch my HGTV show. So, anyways, just wanted to talk like one topic we wanted to talk about today was just finances, couples getting on the same page, communicating, and how that does play a role more than you even realize in your intimacy life.
Yes. Yeah.
Any other things you want to cover? Or you feel like,
I think we're good. I think what moving forward, we can talk about a few other things that I see couples fighting about. Um, so we might make this into like a little fighting series.
let me one moment, let me show you what Katie just sent me. So I get this cool package in the mail. She told me she was going to send me, but I forgot. And so this is the front of it, which is like, this is what I saw at first. And I was like, what is this? Like, this is cool. And then I flipped it over and I have these all over my office now, by the way, because I'm like, I'm just going to shove it in front of my patient's face. So it's Fighting Fair. Dr. Katie Schubert, sex therapist. It says, don't stonewall. Come back to the conversation later. Love that. So what is stonewalling, real quick?
Just what it sounds like, right? Like putting up a wall, like just shutting out your partner, shutting out your partner.
So it's okay to shut down. By the way, there's some of you who are shutter downers.
Yes.
Shutter downers, you like that? What's not okay is to not come back to the conversation. That's what's not okay.
Exactly. So if you know that it's your thing to shut down during conversations, tell your partner, "Hey, I feel like I'm shutting down right now. Give me 2 hours and I'll come back to you."
Yep. So just make sure you come back. Also, if you are the person who is very loud and your partner shuts down a lot, I just have to say it is not your responsibility to control their emotions and how they respond. That's their own responsibility. But it's really important and it is your responsibility to share your thoughts and your needs, even if that makes your partner shut down. Like that's something I'm noticing is a lot of people who have partners who shut down and they just like stop sharing their thoughts and their needs because they don't want to do that. They don't want to sit in that awkwardness. We all have to learn how to sit with other people's emotions and how they respond. Not that it's easy, but that's an important skill I'm really learning with my children. Okay, the other one said one issue at a time. I really like that to not overwhelm. Use I statements. I think most of us know that, but really, truly, how am I feeling? versus like, I'm mad at you for never cleaning the house and doing the dishes, if we're going to talk about that, versus like, I feel frustrated when I come home and the house is messy. It makes me feel overwhelmed. Is a very different way to say that. So no sarcasm. I learned that from you. No sarcasm. I used to be mad about that. No sarcasm in serious conversations. Let's
Yeah.
just, okay, serious conversation, sarcasm is not good. It's very passive aggressive, and it does not make your partner feel safe. That's the key thing is like sarcasm might make you feel safe. It's not creating a safe environment for your partner. Validate partner's feelings even if they're wrong. Katie, real quick, let's do a financial example of validating when I think my partner's wrong. Can we role play for a second?
Sure.
Okay, so I'm gonna be I just really want to I really, really want to get this purse. It's just so nice and it's so cool. This is something I really would like. I know you just got that bonus and I really want a what's a nice purse? A Kate Spade?
Yeah.
I really want this purse.
So internally, I'm thinking we just got this bonus. I have the money set aside to pay off this loan. Why is she so greedy? Like why does she want to use the bonus for her own selfish needs, right? Internally, I'm thinking that. I don't say that. What I say is something like the purse is really nice and I really want you to I see how important it is to you. Like I know that you love purses. Would it be okay if we save some money up to buy that purse and planned for it? Something of that nature.
Yeah,
So
that's perfect. Yeah, that's perfect. So validating the experience that they're having and then also holding the boundary of what is the required with our finances. Like if we can't afford that, so forth. But and that's a perfect. That was perfect. Thank you. Take turns talking. So this is more important for people like maybe me and Katie's personality where we're loud, we talk a lot. If you have a partner who you know isn't going to be as vocal, making sure you pause and help allow for a space so they will talk and we don't like overpower the conversation. Be accountable. Oh my gosh. I wish be accountable. That's my biggest pet peeve is people not being accountable. Can we give an example of being accountable?
uh well, I'll give you one this morning. I woke up and I had one of those dreams where you wake up angry at your husband, right? Like he did something in my dream.
Oh,
I
I
can't
hate
remember what.
those dreams.
But I went up to him before the gym. I'm like, I need you to make me feel better. I'm really mad at you about something that happened last night. And he's like, he said something snarky, like really rude. And I was like, fuck you, dude. I didn't say it out loud, but like, I was like, "Ugh, I'm going to the gym. You can do whatever." He was in a piss poor mood because I just woken him up so I could feel better about a fictitious thing that happened.
I love this example so much because it's so real. Okay.
So anyway, I got home from the gym, I went about my day, and he did not bring it up. He did not apologize for not making me feel better or being snarky with me. So I went up to him and I'm like, "Hey, you really hurt my feelings this morning." And then he was like, "I'm sorry. I was really tired and blah, 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 whatever." And I was like, "Well, what would be nice is if you could apologize prior to me having to come and request an apology." Right? So like he knew he was in a piss poor mood and he didn't want to say anything because whatever. But being accountable would have been me coming home from the gym and him being like, "Hey, I'm sorry I was snarky with you this morning." Like it was we all know it was stupid what I was requesting, but I didn't require a snarky response. So being accountable, right?
I like
You'd be
that. Yeah.
yeah.
I have one recently I can give an example of. We have a rule, whoever picks up the kids, the other person cooks dinner. So whoever's going and doing that, the other person we're assuming is at home making dinner. And we had one night, my husband went and was getting the kids, and I had just gotten a new social media AI platform that I was like geeking out over, and I was obsessing over it. And my like computer just, they come home, nothing's made for dinner. Like I just was selfishly focusing on my task. And he's like, oh, there's no dinner. And he never makes me feel bad ever. He's so sweet. And I go, yeah, I'm so sorry. I just was not, I said I got too hyper focused on this. So anyways, we ended up getting stuff figured out. But later on in the evening, I looked at him, I said, hey, I'm really sorry that I was focused on my own needs and on the app, and I just wasn't paying attention of what the family's needs were at that moment, and that I didn't have dinner ready. And he's like, yeah, thank you. Like, that hurt my feelings that I came home and had to still figure that out. So just seeing things and being accountable. But I, again, like how you were hoping James would bring it back up, like I proactively went out and said, hey, I recognize that I wasn't doing things that were best for the family in that moment. Okay, no degrading language. I mean, that's so self-explanatory, and I hope any of you listening who are using degrading language that you really work on getting therapy on that, whatever way you can, because that is so harmful to another person to be utilizing that language. And I'm assuming, I don't know this, Katie, I assume people who use degrading language pick that up from childhood.
Yeah. Yeah, probably. Or they have a low frustration tolerance. I mean, whatever. Like, there's lots of reasons why somebody would resort to that.
Yeah. But even if you have a low frustration tolerance, doesn't mean you're going to necessarily, your brain's not going to come up with degrading language per se.
Possibly. If
Oh,
you're, if you have issues with emotional regulation.
okay. All right. So that's something to work on with a therapist then, if you don't feel like you have good control over that. Don't journalize. That was so good. I learned that from you because I did this a lot. The always never. When you listen to couples talk to each other and they're upset, even my patients now, I'll hear them say always and never statements. I used to do this all the time. I've really worked hard on not doing this. So you always spend your money on blah, 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 and you never focus on the family and da, da, da. Like, those are really harsh statements, the always and the never. So really trying to get rid of those, because that'll make somebody shut down real quick too and get defensive. So the end thing is aim for understanding, not for agreement. And I really hope people can, what does that mean? Like, aim for understanding the other person's perspective, like get in their head. What do they feel? What do they see? What do they think? That's the goal with anybody you care about, especially your partner. How do they feel right now? I want to understand them. That does not mean I agree, but we can validate someone's experience and still have like a boundary of what we need in the relationship. So anyways, these are at Katie's office if anybody wants one of these. Do you have these posted anywhere?
I don't know. I think we probably have a blog on our website.
It's called Fighting Fair. I have them all over my office and in my house now, so I can reference them. So we fight fair. Anyways, thank you all for listening. We will come back with another fun episode. I hope you guys got something out of this. Have a beautiful rest of your day.
We are Dr. Molly Hart and Dr. Katie Schubert, and you've been listening to Sex on the Floor podcast. We really hope that you enjoyed this episode. If you have any questions and want to get in contact with us, you can follow us on Instagram at Dr. Molly Hart and at Dr. Katie Schubert, on Facebook at Pelvic Balance PT and at Dr. Katie Schubert. And for more information about us on our websites, you can find us at pelvicbalancept.com and at drkatieschubert.com.